Hi, everybody. Welcome to the teacher feature for the International Herb Symposium. I'm so happy to have connected with Christopher Hobbs, who appears to be in a parking lot somewhere. I'm guessing in California. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. Um, but really, I mean, you're kind of a core pillar to this conference, and um, I'm so
I
excited.
only missed one out of all of them, and it
That's
was because Rosemary was mad at me.
Oh goodness. Oh
That's
goodness.
another story. That's
Yeah.
another story.
Okay, so wow, well that's impressive. So you know the lineage well. Yeah, I mean there's no other conference like it, as you know, and I know at the last conference I told you I was, kind of dreaming up this idea about focusing the conference on the eclectics and moving the conference from Massachusetts to Cincinnati, Ohio. I think you were slightly skeptical but supportive. And I just want to, thank you for um writing all of your notes down that I put up on the International Herb Symposium website if you haven't seen them, where I want to provide people a background, right? So I put your like timeline of herbal medicine and kind of highlights of, the eclectic movement. I mean, there's so many different, kind of layers and chapters to that story. Um, and it's a lot to unpack, but
It is.
you're going to be doing kind of an intensive that folks can sign up for Friday, and then you're going to be doing, a class on medicinal mushrooms for which, you've written a book or two, and um and and uh and are a consultant for formulations with Herb Farm, I think, on some of the
Yes.
medicinal mushrooms. And then, but the class I'm most excited about is you're going to go a little deeper into kind of the physiomedical movement, and um and yeah, you have a long history with United Plant Savers, Ohio, the sanctuary, and on our website you helped us craft a checklist for fungi diversity at the sanctuary, and that's on our website. Um, just lots of overlap, and of course, we're both passionate bibliophiles and care deeply about research and knowledge. And you're a main force behind the World Herb Library. Did I say it? Yeah. Um,
Yep.
so I don't want to steal your thunder, but gosh, just talk about anything you want to talk about. But most importantly, I guess, just get people really excited about this history and what you want to talk about and what you're going to explore in your intensive and in some of these classes.
Well, I think one of the key points to make is that at the turn of the century, and even just before that, that's the 20th century, not the 21st, there were a group of physicians who really got fed up with mercury and bloodletting and all the really harsh treatments that were used in those days, doing more harm than good. And we're right back where we were now, where they were. We're kind of back then, and this is what we need now.
Yeah.
We need another eclectic movement to really, invite people and to make people more aware that this 1.5 trillion drug cartel is mostly doing more harm than good on this planet and
Yeah.
among the people. And herbal medicine is a people's medicine. I hope it always will be. It has so many benefits. It connects us to the earth, obviously. Like go out and get a ripe tomato. I mean, go out and get your sage and your thyme and your oregano. And we don't have to buy it in capsules. I mean, I'm not saying products aren't good. There's some good products out there, but we need to be more engaged in our life and realize that there's medicine in our spice cabinet and there's medicine in our garden, and it's so easy to grow these Mediterraneans like sage and thyme and oregano, and they have so much utility. So it's kind of like we're really getting excited about the change in consciousness worldwide right now, and people being more aware that the giant corporations are not doing us are doing more harm than good, really, at this
Right.
point. And
Yeah.
it's so and take responsibility for our own health, and it has to be a grassroots movement like it was then during the eclectic period. So I'm excited about going into that more. What happened, um, and this storehouse of knowledge that the eclectic physicians like King and Ellingwood and Felter and others really had the clinical experience. They used herbs in the clinic. They had specific doses, specific herbs for specific ailments and symptoms, and they practiced with thousands of patients. And they had medical schools and they had medical journals. So just how important it was as an alternative. And then what happened after that, I think
Yeah.
we all know what
Yeah.
happened after that. But it was a movement, and now we're seeing another movement that's similar. That's what I would argue.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like a very synergistic time to have this conference to talk about the eclectics and to revisit that history and then to reflect on what is happening right now. So and it's very yeah, I'm working on an article. It's going to be the feature article in the journal, but it's called like Why the Eclectics, and it's really about that. And also how the eclectics, whether we know it or not, really set the stage for us to have trust in herbal medicine, right? I mean, and I think it had a huge impact obviously on the natural products industry, and many of the successful companies that we have today are built on formulas and knowledge, from the eclectics. But yeah, absolutely, right? Like we saw this, shift starting with the Flexner report and lingering on and how we view science, kind of taking the soul out of science. Um, and yeah, I was just thinking the other day, like I went into a pharmacy or, getting prescription filled, and it was just like this wall of pharmaceuticals, right? And I was just imagining like a wall of herbs. Like that's what it would have been, 80 years ago if I had walked into my like CVS or country store.
Yeah, that's right.
And now,
Herbal tinctures, herbal concentrates.
yeah, yeah.
But
And
in the store, we can't forget that some of the best medicines just take a right turn
to
at
the
the
produce,
pharmacy and go over to the produce section. Garlic, ginger, parsley, on and on and on.
yeah, they're like oh, I'm over here, I'm over here.
Thyme, oregano, you name it. Mushrooms.
Right. Yeah. And how, and how harmful these pharmaceuticals can be, right? I mean, um, but yeah. So anyways, I'm super excited to kind of reinvigorate, I guess, this history of the eclectics and all the different, kind of movements that were happening, right? Before and during
I
different,
mean, there was homeopathy, and there are other movements too, of course,
yeah.
medical movements. And it's important to understand that because we're facing something similar now. I think there are going to be some massive changes in healthcare. It's not sustainable.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, right. There was school, you could become a doctor in homeopathic medicine, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
right.
and
Or a doctor in eclectic medicine.
yeah. And also just talking about like just the social aspects, that they were allowing women and African American and Native American people to study to become doctors. And um I think drivers of social change, right? I mean, really um uh pushing um pushing society at that time period um to be more open. And I think something you touched on too was the the clinical work and how they wrote up these clinical studies, right? I mean, they're so detailed and specific when you look back at these journals. um They were very, methodical, I think, in that capacity, the medicines they were making, how they were um, administering that medicine, and then also really documenting those case studies in a much more holistic perspective. They're kind of fun to read, like you understand what's happening, whereas like you read medical research today and it's like it's a whole new um
Language.
language, right? And it's not for the average person, and a lot of it it's like, well, does that really make sense? Is that really what the outcome is out of this research? I mean, it's so extrapolated, I think. Um so um
Well, and they also, besides being scientifically based, they also were a lot more person centered.
yeah,
Specific medication by Scudder, for instance, each person has an herb or a formula that is right for them based on their energetics. I mean, they really brought energetics in there, a little bit of homeopathy, but it was a lot more person centered. And,
yeah.
and, and that's really important part because it's really the body that does the healing and not the drugs.
Hmm.
But the drugs the herbs can be allies, very strong allies
Yeah.
in that process, of course.
um so yeah, I guess before we wrap this up, I'd really like you to plug your passion project, um which is the World Herb Library, and maybe just say a few things about it.
It's so exciting because my friend Bob Brucia and I have spent 35, 40 years collecting books all over Europe and all over the United States. Almost in every state, we'd go to used and antiquarian book dealers when I was speaking and traveling a lot in the earlier days, 80s and 90s. But we really got into a passion of collecting books, and I collected about 8,000 books, all related to herbal medicine, some going back to actual copies going back to the early 1500s. And it's been such a privilege to host those and to be the curator of those. And we want to bring that to the world, basically, and so that everyone can access them. It's not so easy to access. For instance, the Eclectic Medical Journal, that's a storehouse of clinical evidence, but it's not available to the average reader going in there trying to go through the journals and figure out, okay, I want this how they used skullcap in practice, in clinical practice. But we will have a facility where you can search the whole uh, eclectic journal, all of them, all the years, at one fell swoop, and globally search thousands of volumes, literally 15,000 volumes to get to, and eventually AI will probably be involved in there, so you can really it can get into the social aspects of medicine and the changes that have happened over the years so that we can really understand more about natural medicine, especially focused on herbal medicine. But we have audio clips, and that's the other thing I want to mention is that you can actually go on the worldlibrary.org, and up at top it says audiobooks, and there's also translations, and we're translating some herbals out of German that were heretofore unavailable, and like the Madaus volumes, and also Galen. We're going back to the ancients in Latin, and AI now can translate these into modern English. And so we'll have translation clips out of the great herbals that were not available. And now we have about 25, 30 audio clips that you can listen to. So you can go in to listen about uh, the history of lavender, how it was used, how the oil was processed, and all the way and the lore, the gardening, everything, the stories. We really want to bring the stories out in herbal medicine, and they're available now. We're really starting to add more and more. So please do check out the site. You can turn the pages up to two. We have 2,000 books on there now. History of the herbs in the Bible, for instance, or Shakespeare, and just on and on. So come and take a look.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, well, United Plant Savers has the Duke Ethnobotanical Archives, which is, kind of all of Duke's Jim Duke's library and all of his notes and correspondences and we've, kind of been expanding with different collections of books and we have a link to the World Herb Library from United Plant Savers website as well.
And UPS is a supporter
And
too. So
UPS to
thank
support it.
you.
Yeah, yeah. We I think this is really important. It's kind of it's a little bit like the Da Vinci Code for herbalism, right? It's really like cracking the code and making this knowledge, accessible, um, and and kind of bringing that depth of, like you were saying, history and stories and I mean, it amazes me uh how I've been, telling a lot of people about who the eclectics were, right? So, and that history wasn't really that long ago. So, I'm really, as I mentioned, I'm excited about collaborating with the Lloyd Library and they're doing an exhibit, um, I think sort of focused on the Eclectic Medical Institute and um that'll be up, for a few months, before and after. And then, of course, the American Herbal Products Association is having their Botanical Congress in Cincinnati. So um, it's gonna be a one-off. It's gonna be a very, very
Yeah,
unique.
so don't miss it, folks. You got to come and experience. And the main thing is this is a shared to take our power back from the giant corporations like the drug cartels, $1.5 trillion drug cartels. We have to have shared stories. And
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're getting together and we're sharing this story of healing from the earth, from our gardens, from our kitchen, and not, allowing them. Why do we put up with it? Why do we put up with it? That's the big question. So we're sharing these stories, and it's so important to come because there aren't very many gatherings out there like this, like International Herb Symposium, that is going to allow so many people to come together and share the stories and share our experiences and our passion and our love. So don't miss this opportunity.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. Well, I'll definitely see you in Cincinnati, and I'll see you at the sanctuary after.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.